Good afternoon from the East Coast. It's 1 p.m.-ish. Rebecca from Florida, how are you today? And it's 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, so whatever time it is there, maybe it's good morning to you. Hello, Miss Joyce, from all the way from Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is where I live. Joyce is one of our agents. How to use virtual assistants to grow your business. If you got a question at any point along the way, just feel free to ask. Again, my name is Sean Schickel, and we're here to help you. My background, I have about 20 virtual assistants that support all our various businesses, and they've been a blessing for me and my business. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go over in detail how I have used virtual assistants to help grow my business and to help me and my family, and at the same time, help the virtual assistants and their families. So it's been a win-win relationship for everybody. We actually have live with us 4 virtual assistants that are mine that work with us. They're going to tell a little bit about themselves and their story here in a little bit. But if you have a question along the way, feel free to ask. And something comes up, just go ahead and ask. Cool. So if you're a small business owner, and I don't care what business, if you're selling insurance or cars or shoes, or you're an HVAC person or whatever, everybody, especially here in America, we all have the same problem. Especially 70% of the country in the United States is a small business, which is basically an entrepreneur. And most of those are solopreneurs. And, the bottom line is we are overwhelmed with too much stuff to do. We're the janitor, the bookkeeper, the prospector, appointment setters, salespeople. We're doing all the follow-up, the customer service. We're doing everything. And that usually means we're not doing anything, because we're doing a little bit of everything, and it doesn't leave us time to do the things that we need to do. We're doing things like legal, and we don't even have expertise in legal background. I mean, what do I know about bookkeeping? I wasn't a bookkeeper, So these are important things that you have to do in your business. All of it is important. But I would submit that the most important thing when you're starting off, especially if you're by yourself as a typical agent or a solopreneur out there, is sales. You have to bring in the money, and all this other stuff keeps you from selling. And I could go, there's like all kinds of stuff we could put on this list. I just, put those for right now. I'm sure Matt can lend credibility. It is very difficult to do, especially an insurance agent, but I don't care what your business is. You could be a plumber. It is hard to do it all. And, to make money and to do all this other stuff that you have to do, it's almost impossible, to make it. The numbers in insurance business are about 92% fail. And of the other 8%, or let's call it 8 out of 100 that are left, only six of those make $50,000 or less. I wouldn't call that making it personally. Only 2 are making more than $50,000. So the numbers are overwhelming. That means 2 out of 100 are making a good living. The other 98 either failed or they're not making a good living, in my opinion. So, and this is why is you're running into this problem of doing too much stuff, and usually not enough of the most important stuff, which is selling. Would you agree with that, Matt?
I would definitely agree with that, and you should add to that the holding yourself accountability as a small business owner as well. But when you look at this list right here, it is daunting. And then you wonder, when am I going to get to do what I do well, which is consult and sell and help people, make decisions and get them with the right product. So you're absolutely right.
And for those that don't know Matt Schaefer, Matt's one of our downline agents. He's helped thousands of people in his career. It's not uncommon for him to sign up 500 people a year when he's really cooking. So he knows what he's talking about. He's experienced, and he's sold life, annuities, health, all the ACA. He's got it all. So good resource, and somebody he's been doing a long time too. A lot of time there to lend a lot of credibility to all this stuff as well. So he's absolutely right. It is really daunting. I mean, and this is just the list. I mean, I could have kept going. There is a long list of crap that you try to, it's like 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag, right? It's hard to do. So the bottom line, if you're the typical business owner, you just don't have enough time to focus on the things you need to be doing, which in my opinion, if you're a sole entrepreneur, entrepreneur is sales. You need to be the salesperson. If you're not a salesperson, you probably need to get a job if you're by yourself, because it's very difficult. Everybody's selling. Doctors sell stuff, right? Everybody's selling something. So you're in sales, whether you want to be or not, if you're in business, in my opinion. Very
Agreed.
few solopreneurs are not in sales. You have to find a way to get it all done. And the bottom line, you either have time or you have money. And if you have money to pay somebody or to get you out of a hole or buy some of your time back, then you're going to give up a lot of time until you can, and you better be extremely efficient. And that is a major challenge for a lot of people to kind of get to the next level. When you have the money, it makes little things a little bit easier. That's why you should be focused on selling. If you're struggling out there, the only thing you should be focusing on is selling, 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 and selling, so you can get the money. Everything else can go to the wayside. Good money makes it work, right?
So you can reinvest in yourself and keep it going.
Right. Get a virtual assistant to buy your time back or whatever. And that's what we're going to talk about here.
Learn how to scale, get yourself going.
That's right. I mean, I started my business with $600. I had other money, don't get me wrong, but I started the business with $600. I just kept reinvesting it. So there's a little conundrum that all people have when they're in their business, and that is the sales conundrum, right? And here's an easy example, and this is where I was. Again, this is my experience. So when a salesperson is talking to a prospect, this is somebody who might be minimally interested in your product or your service. If you're talking to a prospect to set up the appointment where you'll then later give your presentation, your sales pitch, you're not actually selling anybody. You're just setting an appointment. So you're not making money. So like I try to refer to as money-making activities. You could argue that it's one of those, but you're not making any money. You make your money when you're giving presentations. And so the problem is when you're giving a presentation to somebody who's actually qualified, that's on your calendar and you're talking to them, you're not setting the next appointment to talk to the next qualified product. So you're wasting time in the future. And so a lot of agents, they'll do something like they set up their appointments on a Sunday to have appointments for Monday and Tuesday, because this is what I used to do. And that's what everybody does. You hear this all, especially in final expense. You hear this all the time. You hear the Medicare. Then Wednesday, they'll set appointments for Thursday and Friday. And that's what I did. And, I'm wasting a whole Wednesday when I do that. Or another way of doing it, if you're struggling, you can't afford somebody, is you go to an appointment. If there's a no-show, then you start calling right there on the road. I would pull over the side of the road and I'd start calling. And did you do that, Matt?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
If I had a no-show from 6 weeks ago and I was in the neighborhood, I pulled it out of my little sheet, out of my little 3-ring binder, and boom, I'd knock on their door if I had time. I mean, but that's that life. But one day I figured out there was a better solution. Okay. And that was an assistant, a virtual assistant. And I don't even know anymore in the world if virtual assistant is the right word, but that's just what everybody calls it. I don't care where they live at this point for me. Their family, as far as I'm concerned. But so there's a solution. And today we have AI, right? We have CRM. And certainly the future, it's getting better every day. But there's CRMs in the insurance world, and a lot of, I even doctors who use Go High Level. Go High Level is a solution, but it isn't the only solution. I have done it where I set out links to everybody and brought thousands of leads in and have them, leads into the system and have them click on a link to set their own appointment. And it works, but it doesn't work as efficiently as having a virtual assistant also do the same thing. And so the tip there that I put in red is doing both is what really works. This idea that you're going to sit on a beach and make money, it's hard to do. We all want to do it. Trust me, I have tried to do it. Somebody's got to do the work. And, maybe later you can live on the beach, but there's very few people that have pulled it off. And I can give you some big names of some people out there that act like they're on the beach making money. But what they won't tell you is that it's selling every day. And they'll film themselves with the fancy car in front of the beach or front of the house, but they're working. Some big names out there in the marketing world that are trying to sell you on all their concepts. They have virtual assistants and they are selling every day. And I know some big names. Okay. It's not all bed of roses when you're in business for yourself. So doing both, using AI and automation and ultimately a virtual assistant to help you in your way is the way to go about it. Okay. Both probably cost money though, right? So my personal choice, my personal journey, I had no choice. I was completely overwhelmed. And again, if you're just joining us because we got more people, if you got a question along the way, just throw it in the chat on YouTube there, and we're more than happy to help you. But I had no choice. I was completely overwhelmed, drowning in all the various tasks that we all do every day in any business, whether it's insurance or whatever. It doesn't matter what the business is. It's the same stuff. I was drowning in it. I could not get ahead. There was no time for me to do anything else. If I was working on the website, I wasn't selling. If I wasn't selling, I wasn't working on the website. This is this problem, right? And so I was stuck in a water of tasks and was not breathing. Okay, that's the only way I can explain it. As so many people are. I've been there. I know where you are. I started with my first sale. I started with my first leads, and they told me to take a hike. I know what it's like. Okay. The other side is I know what it's like to succeed in this business. So my biggest problem is I needed to get to sell personally because I didn't have a whole lot of money on the side to get the revenue that I needed to be able to do the other things that I wanted to do. Like, I don't really want to build build websites. I mean, I'd rather pay somebody to do it. Well, yeah, it could be, pretty expensive. All right, I'll sell my way out of that problem. So the problem is you have no time to sell because you have all these other things you're supposed to do. And the biggest problem I think that everybody faces when they're selling anything is prospecting, finding qualified people to talk to and get them on your calendar. In other words, picking up the phone and calling a lead and saying, hey, do you want to talk? Yeah, okay, great. While the other 8 say no or don't answer the phone. So prospecting is a huge time suck, and it was for me. That was my biggest thing. I think that would probably help me is if I get more appointments on my calendar in a more efficient way, with the end state being that I only spoke to appointments, and that's it. And for my 9-hour day, I wanted 9 appointments, one every hour on the hour. Maybe yours is one every 15 minutes, whatever it is. I used automation by itself, didn't work. It worked some. Okay. I used virtual assistants by themselves, didn't work. When I put both of them together, that's the hot tip. Fireworks. Okay. But prospecting is a major time suck. I mean, you can spend all week trying to get people to get on your calendar and sell one sale and not make any money really. Right. I want to talk to qualified buyers on my calendar who are at least minimally interested in talking to me and buying my product or service and are qualified. And I ended up using virtual assistants. So I'm a retired Marine Corps officer, and I had this problem, and never in 1,000 years, maybe like 100,000 years, would I have ever hired a non-American. It was just never going to happen. But I should put a bullet in there. But I did hire an American, actually, that worked for me for about 4 to maybe 6 weeks. And it did work, right? That person I was selling final expense. Going in the homes and selling final expense. Sound familiar? Some of you agents out there, just like Medicare. And I was doing the Sunday calling, setting my appointments for Monday, Tuesday, and then between appointments, and then on Wednesday, setting appointments for Thursday, Friday. And I just thought, man, I'm wasting my time. I needed to get 5 appointments a day, 5 days a week on my calendar. And if I did that, I knew I was going to make the money. Right? I knew I could make the money if I had 5 appointments a day, Monday through Friday. I knew I was going to hit it. But I could never hit it because I was always had this, I was always prospecting, blah, blah, blah. So lead started came in. I hired an American to do it, and she did a good job. She's a good person. I don't want to think bad about her, but she set a lot of appointments, 1 every hour, like every 2 hours in the field. That's how we did it, 5 a day, and it worked great for like a month. And I killed it. I started going from nobody to making about $10,000 a week. I mean, I was killing it. I would say minimum of 5. The most I made is 18 in a week. I mean, I was killing it in that month. It was awesome. It's like the time of my life. I'm like, oh, I finally hit the jackpot, right? Well, guess what happened about 6 weeks after she started? She quit. I had some story, and there were some problems in the middle of all that. Hey, I got this going on. I got that going on. No offense to women, but I have to pick my kid up at daycare, drop my kid off at school. My kid's sick today at school. Like, I don't have time for all that personally. I'm working, right? And I'm not going to, that's just the reality of the world. I get it. But I got to make money. I got to feed my family, right? So the bottom line is I had to come to grips with the reality of that third bullet there, which is, for whatever reason, in the United States, we got a lot of lazy people and they do not want to work. And if they say they want to work, they don't show up on time and they don't put an honest day's work in. There's still people that do that, but they are few and far between. In my office, in my agency, we have agents that make $80,000 a year, and I get the same crap. I mean, they're making 80 grand a year and or whatever, a pretty good income, and they're same thing. It's just like, I don't know. I don't understand that world. It's not me. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any stretch, but I'm here to work in my work day. And if my wife calls me, I have a problem with it. Like, I work between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. because that's when I have to make my money.
It's even worse when the sun shines all day to get someone to work.
It's crazy. And this is a real problem. And we're Americans, and let's call it what it is. A spade. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? It is. It's just, and it's the future. It's not only present, it's the future. It's going to get worse. So how do you make it? You can't. And I wasn't. So she quit, massive void. I went from making really good money to no money all over again, limited appointments. I'm doing the prospecting. I'm doing the calling. Like, it just, I got to do something. So I hired a virtual assistant from the Philippines who's here. Her name is Thana. She'll be up in a little bit and talk. She's right below me on your screen there. She can wave. Yep, that's Thana right there. And she'll introduce herself in a little bit. But a buddy of mine said, dude, the only thing you can do is hire a virtual assistant and get him from the Philippines. I'm like, okay, whatever. I was an officer in the military. It was in my mind. I was never going to hire a non-American, but I was at my last straw. And so I did. I hired Thana. And, things are radically different for Thana and I today. But back then it was like, hey, start setting appointments. And she did. She got on the phone. She called people. We still had the AI going through the high-level system. This is years ago, about 4 years ago at this point, maybe 5. But, that was working, but not enough. And so she's picking up the phone and calling people who didn't set appointments that were a lead that said they were interested, and she's setting appointments for me. And we went from like 3 to maybe 4 appointments a day to, it was a little different in those days. I was doing, we were getting I think we got like 13 appointments a day on average. I mean, we were killing it. That's the God's honest truth.
She was setting a lot of appointments that I can vouch for that.
Setting a lot of appointments, and they were all, and we were getting shows. I mean, you're going to have no shows and all that. But the bottom line, they were getting on my calendar, and then, we were selling people. And so for me, it was eliminating tasks that kept me from generating revenue. The only revenue generating activity that I like to do is presenting to people who say they are interested and are qualified. And so Thana started doing the prospecting for me. She's calling leads that said they were minimally interested in talking to me, but never actually got a hold of me, or I didn't go to them, and didn't get on my calendar. She filtered those people, made sure they're qualified. When it comes to Medicare, they have Medicare Part A, Part B, that kind of stuff. They're qualified. They have the money, those kind of things. Whatever it is that we're selling, doesn't matter what you're selling. By the way, it could be cars, same thing. In fact, there's a car dealership right down the street. They have a person who works locally. It's American, and her sole job is to call people and ask them if they have money, basically, to buy a car. If not, she hangs up the phone and calls the next person and invites them in. But I guarantee you that business probably isn't going to keep her around. I mean, I just know how it works. So you need to find a way to duplicate yourself to be successful. AI is definitely an answer, but it's not the only answer. Despite the promise of AI, it is not. People are still people. They still want to talk to people and face-to-face and do stuff the old way and whatever. There's certainly people that will do it the other way through AI, but it's not, at least yet. It probably will happen, but at least right now it is not all that in a bag of tricks, right? It's a bag of tricks. So lower labor costs if you use virtual assistants from overseas. And I'm going to show you places I've gotten virtual assistants in a minute. They have expertise in areas that are hard to source at a reasonable cost. And a big one is like HTML, and I'm going to say HTML, that's my age, right? But like coding, doing certain custom-made products that you might need to support your business. You charge. I've had people quote me $50,000 to build a CRM. No kidding, and I can get it done for $1,000 because I know where to go now. Okay. A lot of that will work around the clock. I'm not saying one person's going to be awake, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but the bottom line, you can get support for your business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Matt has support for him through our business as in a partnership that we're in, as a relationship with agency and IMO and agent. He has support for him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Matt will tell you this is true, but it's not uncommon for him to go to sleep at night and he'll get up and have 2-3 appointments on his calendar that he didn't have before he went to bed.
Yeah, and I better get up. Better not go to bed thinking I don't have any appointments till noon, and then screw around and get to work at 10 and miss an appointment. So it's real. It's real. There'll be 9 appointments on there, and it won't be anything. Yeah. That's Sean. I don't mean to butt in, but that's what I'm talking about with accountability. As I'm sitting here in my home, you wake up and you're in Virginia and I'm in Tampa, and you wake up and you're like, well, what am I going to do today? You're trying to set priorities and what you're going to work on. When you have a schedule that, like you just said, you wake up and now you've got 9 to 12 appointments on the books. That's accountability. That's you're working, you're doing what, like you said, you wanted to do. You want to be selling, and you want to be selling qualified prospects and making money. And that's one of the most valuable things with the partnership and working for you and Patriot is the accountability. There's just no two ways about it.
And real quick, Matt, are you an independent agent or an LOA?
I'm an independent agent.
That's right. He's an independent agent.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't do it for just employees. We do it for all of our agents if they want the service. So what Matt's saying here is, we are setting appointments to support his business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through automation and through virtual assistants. And he'll go to bed, let's say 10 o'clock at night, and his first appointment is at midnight. But he gets up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. He finds out he's got 3 appointments. One at 9, 10, and 11. That's what he's talking about. I mean, it happens all the time, every day. It happens to me. Like, in fact, the first time I did it, I was like, holy, Donna, what did you do? My calendar's full. I'm going to go to the store. So it pushes you. You need that though, right? I think a lot of people do.
Well, what are the numbers, Sean, on how many times somebody needs to be touched, so to say,
12,
before they make a sale? 12 times?
12 times on average.
And that's why independent agents don't succeed, is because they don't make, there's no 12 touches. There's a phone call, a text, an email, and the leads suck. That's what ends up happening. Yeah. And you don't make any money. And here you get those 12 touches with the system.
And I don't have that in here, but you're touching on a whole nother thing of what it really takes to really succeed. And here's the problem with that. If I'm bringing in, so if it's truly 12 and I'm bringing in 20 leads a day, how in God's earth am I ever going to call somebody 12 times? I can't, because I got 20 more leads coming in today, and I got 20 tomorrow, and 20 tomorrow. And by the way, when that's happening, I have 9 appointments that I'm talking today. That's what it really takes to me. If you really want to do 30 a month, and I'm getting into a whole other thing, and I want to get off my rope, but
you're stacking for success.
But I could show you we have a graphic called the problem equation, and it goes into this in depth. And he knows exactly what it is, and he's touched on it already. If it takes 12 times to contact somebody, to just at least talk to them, then how could that be possible to sell somebody if you're getting 20 leads every single day of the week? And I mean 7 days a week, like clockwork, 20 days. There's times we get 100 leads a day. I mean, you can't possibly contact them 100 leads 12 times in 1 month. It's kind of hard to do personally, because you still have to sell and make money and put money in your pocket. So somebody better contact them for you, and that's what I'm talking about.
I didn't mean to get off topic.
No, that's a great idea. And so, Sana was that person for me. So what is the common pitfalls of virtual assistants, or related to the world of, we'll say, of virtual assistants? The first one there, I'm not going to name names, but I'm just going to say that there's a lot of people gassed up on what to do and what not to do. There are very few people in this industry that have 20 or more virtual assistants in any business. And bottom line, you're listening to the wrong people. That's what I'm telling you. People who are full of poop, who are giving you advice all over social media about all kinds of, they don't sell, they pretend. I won't even go down. That's why I started my channel, because I saw some things that I didn't like about one of the most well-known influencers in the business, and that person straight up lying to you about what they're doing or not doing. And I just had enough. I'm tired of agents. I'm tired of the 92 losing because they're listening to the wrong people.
Posers.
It's terrible what's going on. And I did the same thing. That's why it's up there. I listened to the wrong people. And they told me what Filipinos were like or not like, what the problems I were going to have, which none of this is true today. So it held me back. And I won't go into all that and who that person was, but they're full of crap. And I can tell you right now, you're going to know their name if I said it, if you've been in this industry for more than 6 months, because they're all over social media lying to you. Okay.
Oh.
So don't listen to the wrong people. And let me tell you, that's the hardest thing in this business for a new agent is figuring out who to listen to. You know, I'm telling you right now, I'm not asking you to buy anything from me today. I don't want to. I'm not selling you virtual assistants. I'm just giving you free advice on how to be successful and what took me from zero to multi-millions of dollars in revenue. And one of them, those key things, is virtual assistants. I'm not asking you to buy anything at the end of here. Trust me, there's no pitch. I'm not asking for anything. So the second thing is, where do you get your virtual assistants from? There's people that go out there and pay $1,000 to get a virtual assistant who then quits 2 weeks later. You're an idiot if you're doing that. I mean, I got some motion from property in Arizona to sell you. If you want, if you're buying that stuff, you're an idiot to do that. Okay. That's been going on. That game in this insurance world has been going on for a while, and those people ought to be ashamed of themselves, but whatever. Where have I sourced virtual assistants from? The very first place I went to was Fiverr. Fiverr.com. You can get a lot done on Fiverr, like graphics, logo development, website development, CRM getting built. Like, you can do a lot on Fiverr for as low as $5. For some of them charge a lot more or whatever. But Fiverr is a good resource. I wouldn't say it's a great resource, but it's a good way to get started, especially if you have a very low budget and you want to get something done. Okay. Fiverr.com, great resource. I've gotten people from Canada, from India, from Central and South America, from Mexico, Pakistan, and the Philippines. Highly technical people in Pakistan, if you want to work with there. So if I need certain like coding and things of that nature, I'm going to Pakistan. And I've gotten multi-million-dollar programs done for $10,000, right? So, you'd be surprised what you can get done. I'm not a computer guru, guy in terms of building out programs and custom-made solutions. I get it done in Pakistan. I have a guy from Canada I've worked with off and on for years. India, Central America, South America, Pakistan. The last one is the Philippines. We have 4 Filipinos on here. It's where I've personally had the most success. And, that's been the best location for me. And today, the bulk of our virtual assistants come from the Philippines. I go to the Philippines at least once a year. In fact, I'm going in about 2 weeks. By the way, man, I'm going in about 2 weeks.
Are you?
I just got back about 3 weeks ago, but we got something else going on. I got to go back, kind of an emergency situation. So I'm going back. But I go there all the time. I know what it's like there. I know the culture. I know the people. And we've all hung out and done our things together and all that kind of stuff. So why Filipinos? There's lots of reasons that won't be on this page right here, but their English is good. They're loyal, trustworthy, and honest. And I'm going to tell you how loyal, trustworthy, and honest they are. I would give Thana my social security number and my bank account number, no problem whatsoever. I mean, I trust her inherently as if she were my daughter or my wife or something. I will be diving. Jerry knows that I will. Jerry, trust me, brother. I am going diving since I'm going there. I mean, but it is for business, so I'm going to, vector over and go do some diving. They're very good-natured people and culture. They're very friendly. An example that I used just a little bit ago is you can go down the street in Manila. Manila is a major metropolitan area, just like New York. It's like just like New York with crazy traffic. But if people are outside their house, like having a picnic or something like that, and have a table, and you're walking down the street and you look like a total bum or whatever, it doesn't matter. They're like, hey, come on over, have some food with us. I mean, in America, that doesn't happen, right? That's a nice way to say that. Like, get the hell out, what are you doing? That's the American way. And the Filipinos, they're inviting people. They're very warm. They're very friendly. I'm not saying everybody is like, the gift of God, but overwhelmingly very good people. Total opposite of America in terms of friendliness. They're very hardworking people, and they're grateful to have a job from you, especially if you're American. And what I mean by hardworking people, if you look at statistics in America and you break down income by race, near the top of the list or at the top of the list are Filipino immigrants. They're the highest income earners in the United States, actually. Why? Because they work. These people are what I grew up with when I was a young farm kid in the middle of Illinois, people who actually worked. But we don't have in America anymore. But the average Filipino will work. I'm not saying I don't have problems. I'm not saying that somebody isn't late every now and again. Things happen. They're human beings, but they work. And they love working for Americans. The Filipino culture is integrated in many ways for many reasons, and I won't go into that today. It's a long history lesson. But they like America, and they like Americans. So it's kind of, they know our culture. They know more about like modern pop music. I don't know anything about it, but Thana can tell me all there is to know. All right. They know about American Hollywood movies, and they know all, like it's crazy. And they'll work around the clock, different shifts. So if you want to be 24/7 like we are, they'll do it. It is certainly much less cost per hour than an American worker, so it makes it more affordable. Don't assume, though, that, and I'll show you hourly wages that you need to pay here in a little bit. Don't assume, though, that that's not a good wage on their end. You can't use an American mindset when it's totally different because things are a little cheaper there. Okay. What do the virtual assistants do? So, Thana, what are some things that you have done over the years? We've already talked about some of them. Say hello and where you're from and things that you do.
So, hi everyone. My name is Thana, and I am from Dumaguete, Negros Oriental, Philippines. So, part of my responsibilities are, making sure that everyone is on board, on the same ship, and of course, working in a fair environment. Most of the times, I work directly with Sean. Other times, I do onboarding. I process payments. I troubleshoot. I delegate tasks. And
when we first let's go back to when we first got started. What did you do when we first got started together?
When we first started, well, I had to start from scratch as well, but Sean was really helpful because he gave me a script that I have to follow when doing calls. So when I was doing calls, I also had to make sure that I'm not just calling the new leads, but I'm also calling the leads that were a little bit older. And of course, the no-shows and those that didn't actually respond, I still have to try to communicate with them. And texting, setting appointments, that's mostly what I did when we first started.
Setting appointments. Your sole job in life was to fill my calendar, to do the prospecting that I don't want to do because it's a waste of my time, to allow me to talk to qualified prospects so that I got more at-bats, if you will, and I wanted to swing when the ball was right down the middle, using baseball analogy, and I could hit home runs all day long. And I went from selling, and just so everybody knows, I went from selling 3 to 5 policies a week to selling about 7 a day. I just said that.
It's basically me trying to save Sean's time and then putting the qualified appointments on his calendar so he can just call them right off the bat and boom, it's a sale.
So I went from an everyday agent selling 3 a week at most, maybe if I was lucky 5, depending on the week. I had good weeks, bad weeks, but let's just call it 3 on average, to feeling like a failure, to selling 7 a day. Now, 7 a day is more in 2 days than agents. The average agent in America will sell less than 15 policies a month. I was doing 7 a day. There's days our agents hit 10, 12, 13. I don't know, Matt, what's your record? But Linda has multiple days of selling 12. She's one of our employees here. We have lots of agents that do 10, 12 in a day when they hit it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it gets 0.
I've made double digits once in a while.
Yeah, it happens. I'd say on average, we're selling 2 to 3 a day. Our agents, when they're really cooking, selling full time, they'll sell 30 a month. That doesn't happen if I'm picking up the phone and calling my leads to set an appointment. It happens if somebody else does. So it changes your mindset in terms of the money. And Thana brought that to the table for me. And since then, we've grown rapidly, and we have 20 Filipinos. We certainly have fired some. Some have quit, but very few. John is one of our. He's the next person. John, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. and what
Hi
you do.
everyone.
Hi,
Yeah.
John.
Hi everyone. I'm John. Hi Matt. Nice meeting you. So yeah, again, I'm John. I'm 24-year-old video editor and also a virtual assistant from the Philippines. I am originally from the Pitan City in Zamboanga del Norte, but I'm currently based here in Dumaguete as well, Astana. Video editing started as a fun hobby, but through practice and learning, I turned it into a career. Now I use my skills to help YouTube channels grow their audience and, of course, the revenue.
Now, do you talk to customers ever or leads or anything like that?
I don't usually talk
No,
with the,
no.
yeah,
Your
but
job. So go ahead.
yes, but I reply to comments on YouTube.
Okay, so let's talk about that. It's a really good point that I don't have in here. Um, let's just be honest. Like when I hear John, I hear a pretty thick accent, but it's good enough for me to understand what he's saying in English. But he's not talking to anybody. But I can tell you right now, John can type in perfect English. I have Filipinos who I can't even talk to, but they can type better than I can, which is an understatement. Okay, if you need somebody to do that. So John is a video editor. He doesn't talk to customers. He takes videos and turns them into social media videos like YouTube and whatever else,
Oh,
reels,
wow.
reels, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, he doesn't have to talk to consumers. There's lots of different skills. So I don't need English perfection for that particular job, right? I need to be able to minimally communicate with him, which he and I can do just fine. And he occasionally will type an answer on a YouTube page to somebody, and it's perfect English, as if I typed it. Okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And next is Nikki. Go ahead.
So, hi everyone. My name is Nikki, and I am also based in Dumaguete City, Negros Oriental, Philippines, as well as Tana and John. So, I am currently a marketing assistant of Sean. So, I basically uh, set up the ads for him. I just joined the company just recently, so
Yeah.
Sean is very kind enough to help me put up with the things.
So
So yeah.
one of the problems I'm having as I grow in my business, and Matt knows this,
Mm-hmm.
is I'm like the marketing guy behind the scenes, digital lead generation, all that. I am now as a kind of an IMO owner, being pulled in a lot of different directions. I
Yeah.
wish I could tell you I could do it all, but I can't do it all. And so what I'm doing now is training Nikki. She will let's say it's Facebook. She'll create the ad under my guidance, but she's doing all the
Mm-hmm.
work. I have to look at it for a minute or two. That's about it. She does all the work. She places the ad. We have the videos and images already made by the next person who's coming up, and the ad copy. All this stuff is kind of done behind the scenes, and I don't have a whole lot to do with it anymore. I just kind of it's like a director of an orchestra. I want to make sure the instruments are playing well together, and and that's my job is to keep them all in sync. And so what she's going to be doing as we get going is she'll do things like, if you know what I'm talking about, she'll use Zapier to make sure the leads are going to the right place. So she's doing a lot of the back office marketing stuff, and she's going to be getting more and more and more and more, placing things on Google, placing things on YouTube or whatever. Okay. Because I need to buy more time so that I have more time for Matt, because Matt's job is to produce, and it's the same problem I had since day one. It's just a different problem. I need to help revenue come in, bring in, and Matt needs that. So our job is just support these agents to bring the money in, right? At this point. And that's part of her role is to buy my time back so that I can focus on Matt. Thank you very much, Nikki. And next is Phoebe. Phoebe, what do you do and where are you from and all that stuff?
Hi everyone, my name is Phoebe and I am from Rizal. Hi, Matt, in the Philippines. Yeah, so I work as a designer for Sean, for AMS and Patriot. So most of the stuff I do are graphics that we use for marketing, also for branding, and also some in-house activities or internal events. So I do the graphics for all of those things.
And do you talk to customers ever?
No,
No.
not really.
So you do graphics and some videos behind the scenes. So if you've seen the graphic today for this particular event on YouTube or on Facebook or something like that, she made it. So if there's graphics being put out by me, if you think I'm making it, I can barely draw a circle, right? It's Phoebe. Phoebe's also highly intelligent. Phoebe, let's talk about this real quick. It's kind of a problem in the Philippines, but what's your formal degree in formal education in?
I am a civil engineering graduate.
Yeah, she's an engineer.
Wow.
She's an engineer. You're talking about a smart cookie right here, right? You have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree?
Bachelor's.
Yeah. Anybody in here have a master's degree? Thana, do you have a bachelor's?
Yes, in
Jo-
political science.
John, do you have a degree?
Yes, in geology.
And Nikki?
Yes, and civil engineering as well.
Wow.
Well, we got two
that's
smart
crazy.
people here. Right. So there's a highly educated, especially young, where you notice they're all fairly young. They're probably all below 30 or near that, somewhere 25, 35. There's a very young, smart, hardworking group of people all over the Philippines, and they want to work for you if you pay them well. We pay pretty well. Okay. And we're talking engineers here, people. In America, engineers are making a lot of money. In the Philippines, they're not. Okay. So, that's kind of a problem. My point that I'm trying to drive home when I brought up with Phoebe is we have really talented, special people over there. And we can not only help their livelihood by paying them a good income, but help our businesses grow. Okay. At a lower price that we do here in America. So it's a great fit. Let's go to the next slide here.
And they're all good looking too. You can see for yourself, but they're all very handsome.
Yeah, everybody in here is good looking except Matt.
And that's okay.
Sean, earlier you said we have 2 smart cookies in here, but actually I think you should say 4 because we're 4.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, there's 4, and then there's me and Matt. We're the lower.
That's better.
But what I'm trying to drive home is there's highly educated people with degrees. In America, you get a degree in engineering, it means something. I have CPAs. I have a CPA that worked for me for a while. A CPA from the Philippines doing my QuickBooks for crying out loud. There are some very smart people over there that they really want to work and they want to make a good life and they want to have a fair shot at moving forward, financially. And you can do that at a discount relative to America and get better work quality is what I'm really trying to say.
It's truly impressive. It just is.
Common pitfall, right here. I see this all the time. They're not Americans though, right? America, we like to say, hey, welcome aboard. And here's 10 pounds worth of crap I'm going to put in your lap. And I want you to get all this work done. You need to keep it simple, stupid. When Thana came aboard, she did one thing and one thing only, and that is set appointments for me. John does one thing and one thing only, and he does video editing. Well, basically, right? And you also make thumbnails, correct?
Yes.
I'm not saying John can't do Facebook ads, and I couldn't cross-train him, but that's not his job. His job is to focus on, videos. I don't want to make it overly complicated. Nikki doesn't do video editing. She probably could, but she focuses on placing ads for me on the various places we need to place them, like Facebook or wherever. Again, same thing with Phoebe. She does graphics. That's her thing. She could set appointments, but her thing is to focus on development of graphics. No different than Matt. Matt can do many different things, but his job is to sell, and sell. And so our job is to help him sell, and sell. It's not to do bookkeeping, although he's got to do it sometime, right?
Yeah.
So that's the point. I think we all have a role, and you don't want to do what I have seen is over and over. And we just had it about 2 weeks ago. Somebody is just overtasked, and they give too many different tasks to do of random stuff to a virtual assistant. And that is a surefire way to lose if you're going to have a Philippine virtual assistant. They're going to disappear probably on you. Okay. The next one, not being culturally sensitive to their customs. Look, it's not America. I'll tell you right now, it's a Catholic-dominated society in most of the country, and it's embedded in their laws and in their culture. Some of it is the very, very southern portion called Mindanao is Muslim. So you're going to have different holidays. Like we have Halloween around that same day. They have All Saints Day, which is kind of a religious thing. Well, it is a religious thing. Some Catholics in America do it here, but not really. But over there, it's kind of a big deal. So I give them All Saints Day off. You know, since it's Catholic, it's Christianity. You know, Easter is not on here, but well, it is on here. We give them quite a bit of time off at Easter. Me, I might take off Sunday, and you know, like that's about it. You know, but I'll give them 4 days off. Okay, sometimes more. You know, birthdays are a really big deal in the Philippines. We just had one today. We try to give them off for their birthday. We try to make it a big deal. We try to, Matt's laughing because we made a funny graphic. We try to make a big deal out of it. Here in America, it's like, hey, it's your birthday, and I'll get back to work. In the Philippines, it's like a big thing. One thing about Filipinos, they find a reason to party and have a good time with everybody else for any reason. And a birthday is a really good reason. So we try to allow them to do that. Okay.
Great sense of humor, right, Sean? Could I add?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm always laughing on Skype.
Internet and electricity can go out anytime. That's definitely gotten better. It depends on where you get your assistant from. If you're getting your Filipino assistant from an urban area, probably not going to have these problems. But if you get them from more of a rural area, what they call the province, you might have that problem. But has it happened to you, Thana?
Yes, a couple of times.
Yeah. And I have to be willing to accept that if I'm going to pay her. And just because it happens, doesn't mean I'm going to fire her. Somebody's got me on. Put me on mute. You good? Yeah, there we go. And so just because it happens, I don't fire Thana because it wasn't her fault the internet went out. Right? I mean, this isn't a hire and fire somebody because you're having a problem in your business, right? You might say, well, I'm not going to do that if the internet's going to go out and I'm paying them to be, okay, whatever. Then don't hire anybody and continue to fail in your business, right? You're not paying American wages anyway. So you have to understand you're going to get some problems. On that note, too low of pay and benefits. Now, I put a minimum of $4 an hour. Nobody in my business makes $4 an hour. They all make more, you know. But I would say no less than in a 40-hour work week, no less than $4 an hour. Okay, that's like a minimum wage. You can get less. You can do it for $2 an hour. It's one of the things going back to the various people that are out there that are the social media experts that are telling you how to do virtual assistants from the Philippines. They'll tell you this. Matt's laugh because he knows what I'm talking about. They'll tell you to start off at like $2 an hour. Don't start off. You're going to lose them. My God, think, how do you want to be treated? They're human beings, for crying out loud. They need to be able to feed their family. And I can tell you that starts happening at $4 an hour. So I would set a minimum of $4 an hour and work your way up. I assure you, Thana makes a lot more than $4 an hour. Okay. But by American wages, she's not getting high pay. To kind of give you a range, like you'd be like, oh my God, that's what you're paying her. Right. If you're paying $5 an hour, that's a pretty good wage. $6 an hour, that's a pretty good wage. Okay. For them over there. For us, we can't feed our families, but over there, they can live pretty good. Like upper middle class good. So $4 an hour is where you want to be for a typical 40-hour work week or more. I would say start at 4 and work your way up. Treat them like their family. I heard this from one of those social media experts. You know, if they ask you for a little bit of money because they have a problem, don't give it to them because they're going to take it and they're going to steal it and do something.
Oh, God.
Listen, I've given Thana some money. I've given, I don't want to, not Nikki and Phoebe because they're newer, but I've given almost everybody something. I mean, I'm a business owner. So if I have an employee whose computer is going down, well, maybe I have to help them buy a computer because I've got news for you. Computers are not cheaper in the Philippines. They're more expensive and sold for cell phones. It's the weirdest thing. So I've helped them, right? It's the human thing to do. Like if Thana doesn't have money and her electricity's about to go out, maybe I'm partially responsible for not paying her the money in the beginning as part of my average part of my base wage with her. So maybe I give her $50 to pay off her electric bill, and that doesn't happen, but I'm just using that as an example. So I've learned myself because I listened to all the wrong people, just like everybody else is doing. And I learned that I had to have a higher wage. That's why I'm telling you, start off at $4 an hour. I assure you, Thana was far less than $4 an hour when she started. And she is now far more. And everybody else on the screen makes more than $4 an hour.
May I
You
ask
gotta
a
give-
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, Donna, and because you work with everybody on the virtual team, I've seen how Sean is, how he treats the team and his compassion and the fun that you have and bonuses. And do you think that adds to your productivity and how hard you guys work and what you get done, knowing that you have someone like Sean? And I'm not kissing up to Sean. I'm just saying, I know that it's fun and that you get treated well. Does that make a big difference to you personally and the team?
Yes, of course, because if Sean treated me poorly, it will affect me and how I treat other people. And if Sean treated me like right, then of course I'm in good mood. My boss understands me. Of course, I'm gonna share the same energy to my team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And whenever like I have an opinion or an idea, Sean listens to me. So I am not
Awesome.
afraid to speak out. Yeah, and of course, which is why I am also very strong on the standpoint of having a fair environment for everyone, that everyone has their own voice as well. That's really one strong, important standpoint for me now that I'm um, micromanaging a little bit everyone.
But
Absolutely.
let's just pretend Sean isn't always a nice guy. If you don't think that I haven't been a dick every now and again, because we're all affected by the world.
Right.
And when I do that, and I know it's a fault, but I do it sometimes, and I sometimes will take it on Donna. She knows that I'm probably stressed out as this thing, but it affects her negatively too, and that means she's going to do it to other people. So I'm trying to be careful not to do it. But I'm not perfect any more than she's not perfect, right? So we learn to work together and kind of live together, if you will, just like anybody else does.
Yeah, and I have worked with Sean for almost 4 years or a little bit more than that. And I kind of understand him more now. So it doesn't really affect me that much if he's not in a good mood because I know how to lighten up his mood at some point
Yeah.
and he'll be okay.
Thank you.
But the point is, Matt's trying to, I think, drive home is we do weird things randomly. Like I'll do a thing where we call it Rockstar Fridays, where for $5, if you name this tune within 10 seconds, and I'll put up like Ozzy Osbourne, and nobody in the Philippines has any idea who Ozzy Osbourne is. But every now and again, somebody gets the $5. So, we have fun like that. We do stupid things. We have a good time. You got to keep it fun. It's a business. What would you do if they were here? You'd have fun,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But that goes back to positive feedback on both what they're doing right and wrong. You want to say, look, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is what you're doing right. Otherwise, if you don't talk as people, if something's wrong, it's never going to get fixed, and it's not going to be good for anybody. This is a massive one for insurance agents, right? This is why, by the way, I'm not asking insurance agents to buy from me today. Okay. There's a problem, a cultural problem with insurance agents. They just want to get a virtual assistant, try them out for a week, and let them go.
Oof.
What if that were you? What if I hired you to bring you on board to be an insurance agent, tell you you're going to make $100,000 a year selling life insurance or Medicare or whatever, and then I let you go 5 days later because I didn't like something, because your electricity went out for an hour, or because your English isn't perfect, or whatever. You know what I mean? You better, if you're going to hire somebody, you're given their hopes and dreams in part belong to you now, and you need to be committed financially. Don't just try somebody. And the social media people that tell you that, they're full of crap, and they're low human beings as far as I'm concerned. You're going to need to train them to the way you want things done. You have to be committed to that, just like you would any employee. You're going to have to work through their mistakes. We talk about all the time. Listen, day one when they get hired, I said, listen, you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. I'm not going to fire you unless you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. Then I'm probably going to fire you.
Yeah, I remember that so well.
Okay. Listen, I make mistakes every day. My wife reminds me every day about my, we all human beings. Donna's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. But, you have to see through that if you're managing people. not fire them on Tuesday because you hired them on Monday and they screwed up Tuesday morning logging in or something stupid. I mean, I've seen crazy things. Okay. Don't just hire and fire. Be committed to a human being and be committed to your business to grow it. You're going to have to do these things. You know, if it doesn't work out on the business side later on, then everybody gets it. But if you're just not a very good manager and not a very good agent and you're not committed, and you just want to try somebody for a day or two to see how it goes and then make a decision, that's the wrong way to go, brother.
You treat the agents that work with you the same as well. Just
totally.
Yep.
Totally. I mean, Matt's made mistakes. You think, I mean, God,
Oh.
Matt's forgotten more about Medicare than I'll ever know. I can tell you that right now. I mean, we all have mistakes, you know?
Made a lot of mistakes.
Matt, let's talk about Matt. Matt, what about your experience pre virtual assistants from the Philippines, and then now, you know what I mean?
Let's talk about it.
Yours?
Well, everybody has ups and downs in their career, and I've been licensed for 16 years. But when I came to you, the issue was I had all these great contracts. I know, like you said, I know everything about Medicare, health insurance, life insurance, but I don't have anybody to talk to. I've got all the money for leads. I've got, lead money. I get reimbursement, and even being able to buy leads, I can't get anybody on the phone. And that's how I came to you. And what happened after that.
And when you're cooking on a let's say an above average month and an above average day, how many appointments do you now get on your calendar? Like not on a slow day, not on a great day, like on a good above average day or average day?
Minimum of 10. I think 12. Yeah, 10, 12 is the key to really fired up. 30 a point, even looking at the life insurance training that we were going over, I think 30 appointments a week is a key goal, at least for a minimum.
Yeah, our goal is to get 9 appointments a day for each agent, 5 days a week, so they can have 2 days to do whatever, relax and be a normal human being and have a weekend or whatever, and then 9 a day. We find 9 appointments a day gets 2 sales a day, and 2 sales times 10 or times 5 is 10. That's a good week.
And the numbers, and that's the one thing when we talk about mistakes and what I've learned working with you is you have to commit yourself to those numbers.
Yeah. So if you're going to get a virtual assistant, let's say it's $5 an hour to $6 an hour. I'd probably pay $6 to be quite frank.
Mm-hmm.
For if you're just going to get your own that work for you 100% and only for you, that's probably where you need to start paying, right? Somewhere around there, 4 to 6, right? Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, in full disclosure, is one of our agents. I'm obviously getting an override from his sales, so we discount it drastically. Matt probably doesn't even know. He pays 97 cents an hour, I think is what it is. Can't even remember. It's like not much. It's less than $20 a day, and he's getting support.
I'm spoiled.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's the deal that we have, but not everybody gets that deal. You have to be with our agency and all that kind of stuff, with all your contracts and all that. But I'm saying for the other agents that don't want to do something like that, you're looking at about $6 an hour. Probably could start off at 4, maybe as high as 8, but it does depend on what they're doing. If you're going to Pakistan, you're going to pay high wages, but you're talking about highly technical work, but it's cheaper than what it's going to be here. So there's lots of different resources. So Matt, you've made more money having. So are you calling leads for the most part, or are you just getting qualified appointments on your schedule?
Qualified appointments.
Yeah, so you're getting preset qualified appointments that all you do is call them and give your pitch.
And that's another reason why most independent agents or agents in general fail, is because they're spending time talking to people who aren't qualified, that aren't going to buy the product, will never buy a product or get a plan. The people that I'm talking to answer the phone for the most part. I don't get many no-shows. They are answering the phone. They're interested in the product, and they know that I'm calling, and they're interested in speaking to me. And that's a huge hurdle right there to be able to do that, I think.
Yeah. What are what are like some pitfalls that maybe you've had with Filipinos? I don't know. I'm thinking of some questions that I might ask you, but
Sometimes I wish, when I'm watching it, it's like maybe I would say something different, but I have to understand that we're operating on a grand scale, and that when you're talking about 9 appointments a day for the number of agents that you have, and to get that rolling, you have to have a script, you have to have a structure. Sometimes I'll jump in there and I'll say, hey, this is actually Matt. I'm you know uh, I can talk to you right now if you want to. So there,
Yeah.
and that's easy to deal with. And then, they're not, Donna is not, and the rest of the team are not licensed insurance agents,
right.
and they don't and to their credit, they learn a lot of stuff that I can't believe they picked up on. But they don't know a lot of the terms. They don't understand if somebody says they're on Medicare Advantage, they're automatically on A and B, things like that. But it's the things that I may struggle with are, in comparison to what I get back in return, are small.
Yeah. And you have to let the little things go. It's not like
Yeah.
we're saying non-compliant stuff, but you have to let the little things go, let the process take care of itself, because your sole job is to focus solely on selling in a perfect world, and let them put qualified people on your calendar. And then what you do is you make small shifts along the way. If you don't like something, you say, listen, if they have Medicare Advantage, they have A and B, you don't need to ask if they have A and B or whatever, like using that as an example. So there's little things that we do when we shift. We improve the training a little here, a little there every day, so that we all are working a little more harmoniously together, and it's just all working. Like Nikki, has very little experience doing advertisements, but I can teach her and she can learn. And
Right.
we're going to have problems. She's not going to pick up how to do Zapier and all the different things that I do. It's hard to do, to make it all work and get the leads where they're supposed to go and all, but she'll learn, and I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to jump on her. Maybe I'll jump on her a little bit. I'm not going to jump on her throat when she screws up,
The assistants treat me like gold, to be honest with you. I mean, if there's anything I want, or if I need something rescheduled, which I don't do often, but I mean, it's like that. It's amazing to me how I'm treated in that regard.
Phoebe in the middle and the bottom there, she does graphics, right? And they have a way of presenting their address and their phone number that's just different than ours. So when I get a graphic back, occasionally I'll see, like, it'll look different than how we do it. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to see it. And then I have to tell her to fix it. But I don't yell at her. I don't scream at her. She just fixes it. But for the most part, I don't really have to tell her to do anything, because the graphics look great. It's just little things like that. Or how the dates, put on a paper or whatever on a graphic, So, so there's lots of different things. Like one of the things about the Filipinos that I like, and I'll use John as this example probably more than anybody, is like, let's call it player development, because we're going back to football and baseball. So John is, really developed his skills. He had a lot of experience developing videos before he got here, but now he is on a whole nother level of what he does. In fact, he works for a client of ours, and they went from 0 views on YouTube to 2 million in 10 months.
Whoa.
And that person has, talk about a testimonial. I'll probably get that person on one day. But 2 million views in 10 months, that person's making a 6-figure income on AdSense alone, which what AdSense is. They're getting paid to watch YouTube videos. She just sits there and makes money doing YouTube videos.
Hang on, John. I'm going to go get my guitar.
But he has learned how to use AI to his advantage. He's learned how to use other software programs to his advantage. He's gotten better. And he's a fantastic, I'm telling you, he was highly skilled, detailed skilled YouTube editor and video editor for social media, and he is substantially better today. And the point that I'm trying to drive home is they're just like we should be as agents or human beings. They grow in their tasks and in their ability. But you got to be patient through that process. It's not like John doesn't make mistakes, any more than anybody else. But he's not going to get fired tomorrow, because every day he's putting out high quality videos, literally every day, that end up getting millions of views. It's crazy with what I'm seeing on a daily basis. And, that doesn't mean it's going to happen for everybody. But the point that I'm trying to drive home is the quality is there. You just got to know how to use it.
Donna was setting appointments, right? At first, and now she's the boss.
So Sana is actually in charge. She's our vice president of international employees, is the way I like to say it. By the way, they're contractors. Let's talk about business real quick. I didn't really want to do this, but they're contractors. Just like any 1099 contractor in America, but slightly different. There's no Medicare tax or Social Security tax or any tax whatsoever on the end. It's just an expense. That's legal. So if they make $1,000, I don't have to pay $200 to the government or something like that, like you do here in America. If you pay somebody $1,000 in America, their employees, you're paying like $1,200-$1,500 in total cost as an employee and all that. It's just like a contractor. And the best part is I don't have to 1099 anybody because there's no international rules for 1099. They have their own things that they have to pay, their own taxes and all that. I won't get down all that stuff. But the bottom line is, from a tax standpoint and an accounting standpoint from our end, it's a pretty good gig. As long as the government allows it, it's a really good gig. And they're going to allow it because they have no other choice. Businesses all over the world. And I'll tell you that, and I'll leave you with this. When I went to Cebu, Philippines 3 years ago, I was still extremely skeptic of having Filipinos. I probably had 5 or 6 at that point. And we're going to do a convention. Like I said, I go there and I walk down the street by myself. This is before Thana linked up with me there and all the other people. And I saw these, just like Chicago or New York or LA, all these buildings, big, tall skyscrapers. And on the side said Deloitte and Touche and Microsoft and United Healthcare and all the other companies that I thought were, American companies. They have thousands. They have huge buildings. You think I have a lot? I mean, these people have thousands of people every day going in and out of their buildings. Every major corporation in the world, TikTok, Facebook, they all have Filipinos working for them in big buildings in places like Cebu, Philippines. So if you're not doing it, if they're doing it and they have billions of dollars, why aren't you doing it? You might have hundreds of dollars, but if you want to grow and be, and have a big business, you're going to have no choice. So my point is, they're not going to change the laws anytime soon for tax laws because they're favorable to all these other companies who go out of business if they did that. They have huge, beautiful buildings. You think we have nice buildings here? They have huge, beautiful buildings with their names on the side all over the country. Manila, Cavite, Angeles City, Cebu, Davao City. They're everywhere. And foreign companies from other countries are over there. Oil companies are over there with their administrative staffs, customer support staff, whatever. They're all over there. If I order a pizza, right down the road is Papa John's. If I order a pizza, it goes to Cebu. Somebody from Cebu is answering the phone, taking the order, taking my money, and then somehow the pizza gets to my doorstep. It's a different world today. It's a different world today. And in the world of virtual assistants, the last frontier, the one that's been the most resistant to the change, is America. It's probably a sense of nationalism and all the other things we could talk about, but when I let it go, I can tell you I went from an average agent doing pretty decent to making millions of dollars. And I share it with my Filipinos as well and our employees here, and my wife gets a lot of it. But
sorry, I'm sorry.
But the talent is there, and we can really change a lot of lives, both yours and theirs, if you work together and make things happen. And you really do as a team. So does anybody have any comments or any questions that they want to do before we go? Thana, you have anything you want to say? No? All right.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
We're a little bit over an hour. I want to let it go. And for those of you watching on YouTube, if you have a question, whether you're watching it now or later on, just send me a message. Find me on Facebook. Put a comment on YouTube. We'll see it and we'll answer it for you. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you.